I'm trying to update
This meeting is being recorded.
my LinkedIn um, posting, and it's not letting me update it.
Oh my gosh.
So
Hey, Jeff.
Hey, how's it going, guys?
Uh,
So,
not good.
Ed, I know that link was bad, so just
Yeah,
post a new one.
yeah. I'm
That's
posting it
all.
now.
well, we're getting
I think we
people
have to
on
get
there.
started. A couple people in here. It looks like Adam and Wyatt.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm trying to update my LinkedIn post, and it's not let me
So
save.
don't update it. Create a new one saying you're chatting with Dale, and here's the new link. Don't even
That
update it.
works out.
Okay.
So I see my videos on, but I don't see a window with me in it. So I'm not sure how that's happening, but that's okay.
I see. I see the just participation window.
Yep. So I'm going to let you start and I'll share out my screen in a little while after I get jumped into it.
Okay. So sorry for about the mix up with the link. I'm glad that people got the new link. We're in here. So I'm Ed Dworsky. I'm with Siegel Solutions. I am and the one at Siegel that works on our SOS implementations. I've been working with SOS inventory since I first learned of it in a seminar in 2013. I've been implementing since 2016 and been certified SOS consultant since 2019. So I've been working with it many years, and I find it to be one of the best inventory add-on products for QBO that's out there. So it's has a lot of good features. I think the support's been excellent. It's a good price point compared to competitors. So it has a lot going for it. So that's my experience with SOS. I worked on projects with all kinds of companies and different sizes and medical device companies, uh, uh, manufacturing companies, distribution companies. So it's a good fit for a lot of different environments. I'm happy to welcome Dale Lathrop with me. Dale is, you told me yesterday, Dale, that you're employee number 2 at SOS. Something
I am.
you've been with the company since the beginning. So taking your 41 years of experience in information systems. You've been working with SOS for the last 11 years, pretty much since its foundation, and have been a key part of the development and growth of the SOS product. So now we'd like this to be this is a small group, so dialogue is fine. If anyone has questions, I'll be monitoring the chat room, and we will have time to field questions as we go. If certain product features something is of interest, go ahead and post that, and I'll turn over to you, Dale.
Excellent. Thanks,
All
Ed.
right. Yep.
So, yeah, I have been definitely one of the long-term employees with SOS Inventory, and our product's been doing great for a number of years. And we were explicitly designed for uh, QuickBooks Online. We started out with them, and this actually relationship started before they even became QBO in a sense. They were QBOE, QuickBooks Online Edition. And we joined in with them and actually integrated with them before they even started an app center. So it was kind of interesting when they started getting on other apps. We were their first inventory app to join with them, and we've been with them ever since. So that was starting in 2009. So 15 years of working with QuickBooks. I think we're going to have a great relationship all the time with them. Now, our product itself is got a lot of competitors out there for inventory, but we are an advanced inventory manufacturing and workflow management system that connects with QuickBooks Online, either Essentials, Plus, or Pro. So we do have a really good connection with them, and that's the great thing about it. It's flexible when working with QuickBooks, and we have so many customers working for us and with us out there right now. It's great, and we've got quite a few with Siegel Solutions, so we're very happy to be working with them as one of our best partners out there. So they know what they're talking about when they talk to you about SOS inventory, which is really great to have. For the system itself, just want to let you know we do have a really good support team. They're out there, and I'm going to show you quite a bit of information. Let me get my screen share up so I can continue letting you know about our product and how we actually can benefit you. Let's see. Zoom, share screen. Give me just a moment, please. Awesome. So you should be seeing my screen right now with our homepage for SOS inventory. So just with what customers are looking for the system for inventory management and manufacturing is our two key terms in that respect. Whenever you start working with us, our inventory management is immense because you can have all types of items on here. And if I show you just an add new, just to give you an idea, compared to QuickBooks, we have a lot of things that we can work with you on. It's not just inventory items and non-inventory items, but we have all types of services, expenses, assemblies for your manufacturing. And when we talk about manufacturing, we're going to get in that in a moment here, but it's both simple and complex. We work with item groups. Most of you that are familiar with QuickBooks Online, that's your bundles. We have the same thing. We just call it an item group instead of a bundle, but it works the exact same thing. But an item, and I'm just going to scroll down here so you can see this. It is really quite configurable. You can state what option, what accounts go on it, track serial numbers and lot numbers if you need advanced style inventory. And what's really interesting about that is you can use both. So it's kind of fun in that respect. And that way, every screen that you bring up that's a transaction that's going to work with these items would have all those questions on it saying which serial number, which lot number, and so forth. But we do have barcoding in our system. We do work with preferred vendors and quite a bit more, reorder points and max stock levels. And reorder points are kind of fun. It's our biggest thing. We don't really have forecasting built into our system, but the reorder points can be managed by the system. If you put in the initial reorder points, there's an option on our Pro plan that will let you actually take it away, and it will just recalculate your reorder points for you. So very nice features within the system. We do have commission control from the items and from the software, but very, very flexible when it comes to item definitions. And then even with the standard items, you have to go further. So if you get into assembly items, then you have to get the manufacturing set up by defining a bill of materials. So we have that capability as well. We're going to look at that in a moment. But the things, we do work with unlimited locations on our two big plans, Plus and Pro. And you can define any number of warehouses, delivery trucks, concepts. Maybe you want to do promotional items set aside. It's all capable within our service and in our system, and it's really good. We work with units of measure. We've got a lot of customers that are purchasing things in kilograms, but storing them in pounds or ounces and working with different things in that respect. Anything you think of, buy something by the box and store it as eaches. It's really a lot of capabilities, and our customers take advantage of that in a number of industries, either the food industry, chemical industries. They also work with for unit of measure. It's kind of interesting. We work with lumber yards, and they always talk about, well, I want to bring in these boards, but I want to reference them as board feet instead. So it's all these different things that you can do to make your job much, much easier within the system. And we give you some configuration where you get to see what's on sales orders, what's on sales receipts. So you get to see live numbers for everything. So item management, extremely capable. We do adjustments where you can actually increase and decrease quantities and values throughout the system based on your locations. You can transfer between locations extremely easy. And of course, take a quick look at your serialized inventory and lot-based inventory. And just as a side note on lots, we have a lot of companies that use it mostly for our traceability. It's end to end from vendor to customer. So you get to see everything that item is passed through. You can actually do full site recalls on items if needed. So it's
I'd
all,
like to
yeah.
add to that. It also has the lot expiration date as part of the lot number too, the built-in
Hmm.
expiration date,
Oh yeah.
which comes in pretty handy.
And all of that's reportable because you can go out and do reports based on expiration. You can, well, just at the list itself, um, just taking a quick look at this, you can see what's in stock, what's available to be pulled from the warehouse for that particular lot, the expirations. It's all here, very easy to use. Plus, you get full histories of whatever happened to that lot, either being based at one location or multiple locations. So this is a really big capability that a lot of our food manufacturers and chemical manufacturers are going to. With that, we take it a step farther. Once you got the inventory in there, the workflow is phenomenal. When you talk about purchasing, everything is based on SOS. So your purchase orders, when you create them, you've got a couple different options. It's not just a standard purchase order, but you can create a drop ship purchase order. You can do a um, let me just bring this up so I can show you some of the options. You can actually do a drop ship purchase order, so your vendor's shipping directly to a customer. You can actually set it so it's a blanket purchase order, so you can actually receive as much as you want from it, so it doesn't just automatically close once you've reached a certain count. It's just going to let you use that as whatever you're contracted with the vendor. And you can even mark it as contract manufacturing. So we cover all the bases when it comes to the purchase order workflow and how you can actually use that to your benefit. And when you receive goods into the system, everything's going to be done from the purchase order, but I'm going to just jump over to the item receipts. This is the key, bringing into everything into inventory, and it's intricate in respect of you don't have to bring everything in. It's whatever the vendor shipped you. You might have ordered 15 items, but he only shipped you 5. So you can do partial receiving throughout the life of that purchase order until you've actually fulfilled the entire purchase order. But you can update items cost in your system right from this document just by updating the cost that you've changed here based on the vendor's invoice. You can even stack multiple purchase orders for the same vendor and have one invoice, one bill on QuickBooks that will actually cover everything coming in. So it's very flexible. We even work with landed costs. I know it's listed here as other costs, but it's landed. So I can put in freight, VAT taxes, whatever I need and add it up, and it will actually modify the items cost to include that value. So now you've got the true landed value within the system. So just on the purchasing side alone, you can probably see that it's extremely capable. And we even give you the ability to return items to vendors and still work with that process very quickly. And everything that you put in here communicates with QuickBooks Online. It's a bi-directional sync. So we send data up. You can still make some changes on QuickBooks if needed, but we are pretty much the one-stop shop except for connecting to the bank so you can pay the vendors. But for the sales side, this is one of the ones that talking to Ed the other day, he was like, this is the most exciting thing that SOS has, and we really enjoy it, is we do have sales orders that QuickBooks Online doesn't have, but you'll find it in Desktop, Enterprise, Premier. They all have the sales order. But since QuickBooks Online doesn't have it, we give it back to you. And this is our controlling mechanism. So now you can see we've got everything else. You can start out with invoices, convert that to a sales order, and then eventually you're going to bill the customer for something. So that's going to be the invoice structure as well. And we do have sales receipts. Now these are mostly for our mobile orders because we do have customers that use Shopify, BigCommerce, and other sites. And those sites can actually send sales directly into us as already paid sales receipts. Because, of course, usually when they do a sale on a website, they're asked for a credit card and they put in the payment at that point. So, but for our standard workflow, let me show you the sales orders and how flexible this can help you in the work system. When you start looking at a sales order, it's just simply adding a new one in. and building it out. I'm going to choose some customer here. Let's go with Al Latimer. So it brings in their information, and all I got to do is sell them something. So I'm going to sell them a mantle clock. So at that point, I can look to see how many I have on hand. It's going to bring up the rest of the information so I know exactly what my unit price is, and I can float my mouse over the quantity and say, oh, I got 471 available for sale. So he only wants one, so I'm good to go. But even in that respect, let's go ahead and do 2. I can set what date needs to happen. And if this is something I'm manufacturing, then I'll set it to the date that it should be completed in manufacturing. Usually the due date is when am I going to get that out the door? But you can do transaction discounts, line by line discounts. You can add the shipping in here. It's all very capable. You can deal with sales reps as well as putting down deposits. Any of these functionalities, you can put in order stages. You can set priorities, high, medium, low, whatever you need. You can assign it to someone else within the system so they can take it from there once you've recreated the sales order. But there are so many different capabilities just to look at it at this extent. And then once I save the sale, everything can be done from the sales order, literally. If I need to buy them first, I might create a purchase order from here. If I know they're in another warehouse and I want to ship them out from a different one, I can transfer them between locations. I can create jobs if I want to track end to end from where I'm pulling things in to selling them, so I can get a profit loss statement going on it based on jobs. If there's something on there that I need to manufacture, I can generate a work order. So that way I can set up my manufacturing before I even go ahead and do it. It's just giving you that capability of taking it one step farther. And then for fulfillment, we have optional pick tickets for people that need to have it pulled out of a warehouse first before shipping. And then we do the shipment. And the shipment is partial, full or partial. You can do it either way you want to go. When I create a shipment from this sale, I can state, well, I only have one to ship out now, even though I do see I have 1,007 on hand, but I'm only going to need to ship one. So I'm going to put that on there, and I can save that. And the workflow is so extremely flexible. When you start looking at this, it is just looking at, I've got a sale and I've got a shipment, and this is just a single shipment. I can still see it still open. I can look at the quick view to see what I have left to actually ship out. And it shows that I did promise this customer 2 mantle clocks. I've shipped them 1, but I can follow pick ticket shipments and invoices in here. So I now can make the decision, do I want to invoice them for that 1 clock, or do I want to wait until I ship out the other one? And then when I generate the invoice will be for both of them. So the flexibility is really, really great working with the sales order. Fully trackable in here, fully trackable with the reports. Oh, I saw questions pop up.
Yeah, Jeff had a question about the fulfillment process and the pick, pack, and ship capabilities.
So for the pick ticket and the shipment capability, the pick ticket will be there generated from the sales order, so you can actually have someone pull it off the shelf at the warehouse, send that over to the shipping department, and then the shipment is actually what's going to be the document that produces your packing slip. So now you can print that packing slip and put that in the box with the goods. It's not a one-step process. It's multi-step in that respect. But we do have, if you need to automate some of these processes, we do have AOP rules that you can use to actually state that when such as a pick ticket, maybe I generated a pick ticket from a sales order. So I could state when a pick ticket is created, I want to go ahead and create a shipment for that pick ticket. So that way you've got that full step being created, all automated but for you. And it could be keying on a certain warehouse, a priority, channel, or customer. So you can actually tailor which ones you want to have go instead of all of them. And there's so many things that you can do to send the emails out for notifications. You could, because this will send out the information to the customer as well. Assign it to another user. It's just giving you all kinds of capabilities that you can string together to automate processes. So hopefully that kind of answered that. Will it integrate with shipping software? It does, actually. Now we have 2 integrations for shipping, and those are ShipStation and UPS. Now the UPS in our software is not World Ship. It is just the uh, continental United States. So it's a little limited in that respect, but with ShipStation, this is our main vendor, and they've got a great reputation out there. And they connect to your DHL, FedEx, UPS, USPS, all of those different accounts. So that way, when you create a shipment in our system, not only does it give you the packing slip, but it will mark it. And I'm bringing one up to show you, it'll mark it to go to ShipStation. That way, as these shipments are created, someone goes into the ShipStation app. We're considered a store on ShipStation. So you just have to say update stores. All of our shipment transactions get pulled into ShipStation. So then you choose which vendor it's going to go out with. And once you save that transaction and pay the shipping cost, it's going to bring all that back into this shipment, showing who the vendor was, such as maybe FedEx Freight Economy, the tracking number, the cost. And then from this transaction, I can now create a bill in QuickBooks to actually bill that shipping vendor for those charges, or pay the vendor for their shipping charges. So it gives you a lot of capability for that. We have had people ask we could integrate with other shipping software. We usually go back and ask, can you give us a name of one that you'd prefer? And we'll work on that. We haven't had anybody come back. So if you got any that you want to let us know about, please send us an email at support@sosinventory.com. And if you started out as, hey, Dale, talk to you in this meeting, then they will pass it on to me and I'll get that looked up for you to see what we can do for future. But even with that stated, just the idea of in the sales orders, you do have partial shipping, partial invoicing. It gives you so much flexibility. We also have a payments option that you can add on to your system. It is another software package that you can get tied into us that's called Merchant Track, and it gives you the same kind of capabilities that you'd have in QuickBooks. By having merchant services open there, you can have it in our side, so you can actually add credit cards, e-checks, all that. How about delivery dates on a blanket sales order and how to track and ship when it is due to ship? So with the blanket sales order, so the idea of being due to ship on the sales order would be just setting up those due dates. So I'm usually working with blanket purchase orders, but blanket sales orders, I guess it's the same thing. If you're having an agreement with a customer for that blanket, you're going to set up different things on that sale. So I'm going to just bring this sale up again. Let's say instead of 2, they wanted 100 mantle clocks. So what I can do on this is just add lines, and we've got a copy function here. So I'll just copy it down. Maybe I want to do it per quarter. So I can put in the description, Q1. Whoops, boy, I can't spell today. Q1 dash, Q2, Q3, Q4, and maybe state that I want 25 per quarter to come to me. And this could be changed up. Maybe on the last 2 quarters, I only want 20 this quarter and 30 on the next. And at that point, I can set up the due dates here to represent what I need to ship out at any one date. So I can have this set up with that kind of timing. And that way I can add that other information in the comment block that this is a blanket purchase order with this individual. Start date is this date. Expected end date is this and you can just have that as additional information in here for that purchase order. Hopefully that answered the question. So other things that SOS can do, and give me just a second. I'm hearing vocals from another person. If you can mute yourself, we are recording this. It's just up to you if you want to have that on there or not. So with that sale, you can see all the information. But the other thing about the idea of being able to ship it before invoicing is you get that control. Plus, you can also look at reports and show, well, this cost was realized in this month, even though the invoice, the sales price didn't get realized, the revenue, until the following month. So you'll be able to see all those in different reports. So the other thing about fulfillment is we do have simple rentals, so you can rent goods out. Usually if they're serialized inventory, we've got a special calendar that will track all of that with detail showing when it's due back, so you can get all the things done as needed, such as the invoice, and you could do the rental returns. So all of that is built in. Even with the sales, I guess I should have pointed out, you can do returns and RMAs for the sales side. So that was something I missed in that respect. So yeah.
Dale, I wanted to go back 1 second and mention something about commissions. You were talking about commissions before.
Yes.
I think another really neat feature of SOS is that you can flag certain items as non-commissionable, whereas in QuickBooks, people are used to the entire sale is subject to commission, but in SOS, you can say, well, items like freight are not commissionable, things like that. So it's has a lot more flexibility on the commission process. So that's another strength, I think, of SOS.
Oh yeah, and it can even, and our commissions are not just based on a percentage. Our commissions are either based on a percentage, or they can be a fixed rate, $10 per transaction or $20 per transaction, and you can even restrict the sales reps to only see their customers as they're working in the system. That way, it's not going to overlap with some other person's records. They won't be able to just go in there and edit it and say, well, I'm going to be the sales rep now to take that commission. So that's something that we can do to help protect that system. And then you're right, for the items, it's not just making them exempt, but you can add to the commissions. You can modify the commissions because, come on up. There we go. Let me just bring up one item. So for this item, if I come down here towards the bottom, oh, wow, they've got a big picture on this. Let me, that was unexpected. There we go. But yes, you can mark it as commissioned, and that way, no matter who the person is doing the sale, they just don't get commissions for that line item. So you can do it by line item. And with these other two, the sales rep may be getting a 5% commission, but you might say for this item, we're going to be more generous. They'll get a 7% commission for that line item. And you can even give a per quantity, per unit commission. So that way, if I set this to $1, then that adds another, for a quantity of 1, give him another $1 on top of everything he's already gotten. If he sells 10, he gets $10. So it makes it really flexible for commission rates. Good point. Thank you, Ed. So let's take a look at production. This is one of the last things we have looked at. And this is literally over 50% of our customers are all about the manufacturing. They want to build things. So we have the ability to do items like assembly items and actually do simple manufacturing on them. And when I say simple manufacturing, you're building one item, such as the one that I was going to show you here in a moment is, and it didn't show up. That's okay. I'm just going to go into the build and show you. So I've got an assembly item out there called the flight jacket. And if I go over and go to do my assembly build, I just have to point to the location that I'm doing the manufacturing at, state what I'm building, my flight jacket, and say I want to build 6 new flight jackets. I've already got 343 built and 324 already spoken for, but I need 6 more just to get it and to make sure my stock level is up. So then I just have to hit update inputs. It retrieves the bill of materials, and I can see all my raw materials and services. and actually see what quantity I need for one jacket, what do I need for the 6 jacket. So it tracks everything. And including, if you're on our pro plan, you can actually have a list of workers and track who's doing the work and who's earning that labor. So it's really kind of nice within the plan. And when I hit save, it's going to relieve these raw materials and services. And so decreasing inventory for those, and then increasing my inventory for completed flight jackets, applying that cost that I pulled from the inputs. So it's a really nice system for that. And you cannot just have a flat bill of materials. One of these items maybe is a subassembly, and I can go as many subassemblies deep as I need to. Now, that's what we call simple manufacturing. Then we have more complex manufacturing. That's processes. This is for the companies that are trying to build things en masse, such as, and the biggest example is a lot of our customers do food products. So let's say I want to build an energy bar. And now when I start looking at that, if I wanted to find one, it's kind of hard. How many amount of flour, the amount of sugar, the chocolate chips, the nuts, the different things that go into it. What do I do to define that? You don't do it that way. You build it as this mass batch of like 1,000 energy bars. So all you have to do is do a process transaction. And here's one already preset. So I'm just going to show you this. You can create templates, and the templates are the building block of what you're trying to do for that manufacturing run. So like a bill of materials, you're just defining it as the definition of a manufacturing run of so many. And so this one is producing so many energy bars out of so many bags of flour. There's my labels for them, sugar. There was a lot more in here before. Let me reapply the template. There we go. So there's my flour, my milk, and you can see these are lot-based because they could expire. There's my labor, my labels, my sugar, my chocolate chips, and it just shows what I need to produce an entire run of 1,000 energy bars. Plus, you can also take into fact that there could be waste. So with this, you're tracking multiple outputs, and it's not just one product that you're producing, could be multiple products that you're producing. It does disassembly, such as I may bring in whole fish, and from those whole fish produce so many small fillets, so many large fillets, and have waste, because of course I'm not going to keep the heads, the tails, and all of that. So it gives me the ability to do that disassembly. Yes, Ed.
So Dale, could you take a minute just reiterate some of the kinds of businesses that use the complex process manufacturing besides, say, bakeries? What other kinds of companies attract to that setup?
So it's not just anybody doing food products. That could be anything you think of. But we've got companies that do wood and actually use process transactions to bring in all these trees and produce so many different products, wood products, different size boards and such. We've got customers that use process transactions for building nails and screws. They bring in these huge spools of steel thread at certain gauges, and they push them through machines and produce so many screws, so many of different sizes, so many nails, different things in that respect.
With one process, you're producing multiple items.
Mhm.
Okay.
And the other thing that this is great for is for repair. And a lot of people don't seem to think about that. But when you're repairing something, you have to have that item as an input and an output, because you're bringing that in at a certain value and you're either adding parts to it or subtracting parts from it. The add to would be the inputs, and then on your output you would have that same item with whatever got taken out. And that way, when the production is occurring, you can track the waste, but it also tracks what the change in value is of that output item. So it's really a nice process to do just about anything you think of. And there's so many other companies that actually use this. We've got a recycling company, and they literally bring in a truckload of various items on this truck, and then they sort through it, and they use the process transaction to actually break that one big truck down that they have as a certain amount of pounds of input, and they output all the different separate pieces. So it gives them a way to track things in more detail.
Yep. One more question around the assembly or build or process. When
Mhm.
you're building something in a certain location, all the components need to be in that location, correct?
Correct. And when you go to do that, it's either you're going to buy those items and pull them into that manufacturing location, or you're going to use an inventory transfer to move them there. So that way all your raw materials are at your manufacturing location. And what most people have for that, when they do that, they'll create a special location that's non-nettable. So as you're moving those parts in there for manufacturing, being non-nettable, that means they're not available for sale. So now they're setting goods aside that salespeople won't scoop up for replacement parts if needed. So it gives you a much better control over that manufacturing process. So simple, complex manufacturing. We have work orders that manage the whole thing. You can actually set up a work order to schedule everything that you need to build in a certain order. So looking at this, I'm just going to open up this one. Great. It's got a couple items that we already talked about. So I'm building 1,000 chocolate energy bars, and I'm building 2 new flight jackets. Here's the dates I need them done by. Hopefully it's in a chronological order, but everything is set up. So now I can uh, look at this work order that I've defined, and work orders can be generated from sales orders. They can be generated directly. But once you've got that work order in place, then I just have to do a quick view to be able to run my production. So, and when I do this, if like this one, I did a partial. I wanted 2 jackets. I only made one because I clicked on produce once. And of course, it gives me a pre-filled build. The energy bar is something that I produce with process transaction. So it's going to give me a process transaction ready for that energy bar. But as I mentioned, it knows what I'm building and how many I'm building. So it gives me a completely filled in transaction, and now all I have to do is tweak it. So it's kind of a fun little action there. And I forgot to mention, we also have work centers for work in progress style manufacturing. So I can state, I want this to go to WIP. So now it'll just relieve the raw materials and services, holding that value aside until someone comes into this transaction later on and goes to finished goods. Finished goods means now show that my outputs are complete, and now I'll see those jackets in the items list as something ready to sell. So it gives you that ability to be manufacturing over time. And what's really interesting about that, we've got one company that actually works with SOS, and they produce these little weird looking robots that actually scurry around your houses. And it takes them 14 months to build one robot. So they use our work in progress style manufacturing to get it all done. Plus, it's also thousands of parts, and it
So
does it really well.
so you can use the work order as like today's production schedule, right?
Mm-hmm.
What you plan it to,
Or today's, or it could represent a large amount of time. It doesn't have to be today, because it might be building, because this is really good if you're doing subassemblies, because you have to build the subassemblies before you get to the master assembly. So the work order is going to state, what do I build first, and work my way up through that manufacturing chain. And it could take a long time to get that all done. So that work order is going to remain open until it is completely satisfied. And then it will close out and you won't have to worry about it.
and the last step is always finished goods.
Mm-hmm. The last step is always finished goods. You can always put it into the work in progress stage, but you're always going to have to go back to those manufacturing transactions and show that they're closed. And the only other thing that we have here is jobs. Really, that has nothing to do with production. Some people use it as a way of tracking everything to produce a house or something in that respect. But it is going to give you that capability to track anything that happens to the materials within a job, from purchasing to production to the sale piece, the invoice for anything, one or more invoices. And that way, once you have that job built, it's going to show you a dashboard of everything that's out there, so you can actually do a profit loss statement. So just as a sample dashboard, I had one marked here, but I don't see one. Let's hope for the best. So if I go here, that's not the dashboard. Let's go for this. Hopefully it's got some transactions on it. Perfect. So I can see the purchase orders, my sales side estimates, sales orders, sales receipts. There's my builds, process transactions, but it gives you everything so that now after you get that all completed, you can go do a profit loss and see all the things that you had to pay for during the process, what you sold it for, and what did you make on that product or that project. So really something nice in there. Now, we had a couple questions, so let's see. On builds, what if inputs are in different locations? Oh, I think we already answered that. If builds are in different locations, interestingly enough, one of the things that you can do from a you can't do it from a build, but if you have the materials in different locations, of course, it's going to show you how much you have at that current location. You can always do a transfer to move them over. But here's the great thing about doing the work order, because now in the work order, if I'm on the Pro plan, I can actually just hit the down arrow and go to create transfer, and it'll look at every assembly on there and give me a transfer ticket that's going to show all of the raw materials, not what I'm building, so that I can just delete what I'm not transferring, leave on what I am, select my two locations, where I'm going from and where I'm going to, and it sets it up really nice for you to make sure your materials are all in one spot. So let's see, is inventory committed in the middle of a work order if you are working it before going to finished goods? Yes, because it's all about the manufacturing transactions, the build transactions, the process transactions. That's where you put it in work in progress. The work order itself is just tracking what's been produced. But when you do that, a work order also can affect raw material numbers and be included in the reorder report. So that way you can see what effect your current manufacturing is having on possible reorder needs. So something to think about there. So with the last thing is I'm just going to show you a really quick thing about reports. We have a few.
One thing before, Dale,
Oh, yeah.
I just want to answer Adam's question about
Oh.
the bill material setup. Yes, that is one of the data that can be imported into SOS. If you set up all your bombs in Excel, they can be imported into QuickBooks.
Yep.
I mean, into SOS.
In SOS. And we do have that process because we have a bulk edit, which allows you to literally download or export spreadsheets of your items, customers, vendors, bill of materials, and price tiers. Make those changes in any spreadsheet editor of your choice. We highly recommend Excel, but it's not mandatory. And then import that data. So you could do bill of materials en masse if needed. So it's really easy to change. And we even have a report that'll actually show you a lot of good information for that as well. I guess for that process, I just wanted to show that the one tool that a lot of people like is our export data. Absolutely anything that you input into SOS can be retrieved in its entire detail via spreadsheets on the export data. So you could do custom reports by pivot tables, things in that respect from these, or you could just go to our report section and we have a whole series of pre-built reports for pretty much any topic you're looking at. So, and these are very flexible. Literally, if I go to a report, let's say I go to a master sales report, just to show you some of the bigger examples. If I go to a report, I have these 6 sections. I can filter, and some of the filters get really involved. You can really detail what are you looking from the system, set your options for how you want your report to be seen as it's being produced on the spreadsheet, as well as what columns do you want to add to that report. As you can tell, it's pretty flexible. You can add just about anything you want to the report. Set your date range, either by specific dates or by particular date range styles. And then you just save it as an Excel spreadsheet, or if I hit display report, it'll just take it right to the bottom of the screen and I'll see my report down here. So that's going to give you that capability. And then you can send it up to 3 people via email. But a
Dale,
lot of,
I have a quick
yes,
question. Can you do,
sure.
let's say you had a company that was building, they were like through quoting on their own system, through Excel, let's call it, and they're building out their own like BOM, kind of custom all the time. Can you be importing that all the time through that data import tool?
Well, you you could if you wanted to change the bill of materials, but if you have a standard bill of materials, it could be a starting point. We've got customers doing it in a couple different ways because on the build itself, even though I brought in those materials for like the flight jacket, I can always modify this on the fly to be a custom build where maybe I want uh, less buttons. I only want 3 buttons instead of 1. I'm not getting the zipper. I'm just going to give them the buttons. I can add additional lines. I can modify it here on the fly. But if you do import the bill of materials each time, it's going to change that base bill of materials. Now, other companies, what they do is they will build out an items bill of materials to have exactly every possible thing that could go on it, and then when they go to do the build for that particular customer, they just delete the lines they don't need anymore. That's a different way of going. Makes it for a very large bill of materials, but it just depends on how you want to do that. Did that make sense? I hope. Okay.
Yeah,
Um,
that did. Sorry. And I know there's a
oh,
couple other questions on there too.
Oh, I noticed that. So Adam asks, at what point is inventory deducted? After a shipment or after it is invoiced? After the shipment. The shipment is actually what relieves the goods from your inventory and sends up journal entries to QuickBooks Online to move inventory assets to cost of goods sold. So that's your cost side of the house. Once you create the invoice goes up to QuickBooks to affect the revenue accounts. So accounts receivable and the
Sales.
income account that's listed in the items definition. And it's all about your item definitions. The items control which accounts are being activated upon every time you put that item on a transaction. So make sure the item definitions are great. What information is transferred to QBO? Just general ledger codes, and a debit or credit or SOS will create. Well, we'll do just about anything you think of. On the purchasing side, it's all about the payment method on the item receipt. So the item receipt, this is where you're receiving goods in and you're putting in what you're paying for those goods to the vendor. And then based on the payment method, because on each item receipt is a block to show how you're paying the vendor. So when I look at this item receipt, it's right here. So I get the state. I want to send up a bill to QuickBooks that mirrors this item receipt. I want to pay by cash, check, or credit card. And if you use these three, it's going to enter a purchase expense. And then, of course, you can just tell it, nope, I don't want anything to do to QuickBooks because you can't enter stuff into SOS without going to QuickBooks, such as you received the goods, but you haven't got the vendor's invoice yet. Well, you really don't want anything to do to QuickBooks until you get that vendor's invoice so you can update that item receipt to have the right cost and the different things that you need on it. And then you can send it up by changing the payment method at that point from none to bill or one of the other ones. On the sales side, everything is based on the shipment and the invoice. Those two are going to send things up. Sales receipts are standalone, of course. That's just going to affect the inventory asset and cost of goods sold because usually sales receipt has been prepaid. It's usually coming in from Shopify or BigCommerce or one of them. And then journal entries for the manufacturing, moving those assets and expenses out of the inputs and putting it into the assets of the items that you're creating. Hopefully that helped you out with that. There's a lot of movement going on between QuickBooks and SOS, and literally it's all about the item definitions. All right.
So just to expand on that, when it syncs an invoice, it creates like a mirror invoice in QBO that has the same items listed. In QBO, they're non-inventory parts, whereas in SOS, they're inventory parts.
Correct.
On the cost side, when you do a shipment, it creates a journal entry, but it has enough detail in the journal to give you a trail back to, which item, which build, or which receipt created that entry, so you can trace back the costs. So
correct. And with that being said, we actually have an area where you can go to see every journal entry that ever passed between the two systems. So you can see what the credit and debits were, what transaction caused it, what the reference is on QuickBooks, and what the value is that made that change. So it's a really good tracking system within us as well. So you've seen the reports, and reports can be customized, so you don't have to worry about the settings anymore. It'll keep those for you. And you can also automate reports to go out daily, weekly, or monthly. And other than that, there's a lot of features in here that you can still look at. I would highly recommend, if you want to get a sample account, just download a trial and take a look at it. It's the full version of the software. Just tell it what you want to see. So with that, we do connect to different shopping carts. That's PayPal, Shopify, and BigCommerce, even though we do also connect to Zapier. So they have 5,000 plus sales sites. So it doesn't matter which one it is. You could use Zapier to connect us to them. And we also have our own built-in customer portal, and that's just for sending out sales acknowledgments to customers, so they can actually get into the portal and see where their sale is at. Oh, it's in manufacturing, or it's partially shipped and I just haven't got it yet. So it gives you a lot of good information. So this is our current SOS. I do want to do a quick show to show you something else. We are currently rewriting this package. This thing was originally created in 2006, and it's great, but it's using older algorithms, and we wanted to make it better. So we have created, that's the developer portal. There we go. Version 9 is in the process of going through its final changes. We are looking at this being released by mid-year at this point. And it's been built from the ground up. So we've redone all the speed algorithms, all the different things, such as you probably saw how long it took for the sales orders to come up. But now if I go to my sales orders page in here, it's a lot faster. It's a lot cleaner. We did the color scheme and such because we were looking at, well, what does it take for someone that may be colorblind or have other visual impairments to try to make it easier for them. One of the other big things that we got from this is if I go into a transaction, and this is different from version 8. If I'm in version 8, I create a transaction first, and then if I want to attach something to that transaction, I have to come over here to Files and Documents and attach it under this list. In version 9, we just go into the transaction, click on a paperclip, and we bring it in. So it's got a lot of benefits that we didn't have before for actually deciding whether things are taxable or not within the structure, giving information in a more logical order, grouping things together for lists and such. So it's really gone through a lot of changes, and we've got so much more in here. I can do columns where I can move the columns around in any order I want, which in V8 they come up in one order and one order only. We've boosted our reporting structure. We've boosted all of our capabilities for serial tracking, lot tracking, and the manufacturing side of the house as well. It's a complete rewrite for speed and just being able to manipulate everything in the system. So yeah, you can see how fast items came up. It's really easy to get through the system here. The only thing we haven't got for me to show you is the configuration section. That's the last piece that they're working on now, is to making sure it's highly configurable, give you more flexibility and ease of use within SOS. So that kind of gives you a really good, I know I went over, sorry about that, Ed, but we got a lot of information.
Yeah,
Let's
no,
see,
it's
another
awesome.
question. Can we do everything we do in QBES and QBO?
Yes,
Okay. I wasn't sure about QBES. I've never heard that acronym.
that's QuickBooks Enterprise. That's the desktop version.
There we go. Yes. So SOS inventory connected to your QuickBooks Online will give you the equivalent of QuickBooks Enterprise.
And I would say it does a few things better than QuickBooks Enterprise. For instance, you can have
It does.
lot numbers and serial numbers, where in enterprise it's one or the other, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I did see, I did show this earlier, but I'm going to let you know about it again. We do have rentals, in both versions, because we do have that in SOS as well. And when you turn on the rental capability, it's an option you can turn on. It creates another location for you called out for rental. So then I can do rentals to customers, and those rentals will take the goods out of whatever warehouse you're point to be extracted from, and it'll put it out of out for rental. And that location is a non-nettable. So that'll hold those goods out for the customer until they do a return. And when you do a return, it'll take those goods back out of that out for rental location, and you don't have to go back to the original location. You can change it to whatever location they happen to return it to. So it gives them the flexibility of renting it from one store and returning it to another if need be. But it's all done within the system here. Very simple rental returns that can be created from the rentals themselves. So, and there's so much more to the system that I really can't get to today, but you can see just by looking at this list, all the flexibility that we have, fully configurable form templates using Microsoft Word. Of course, all the exports in Excel were highly integrated into Microsoft Office, even multiple vendors for each item. But that's just the tip of the iceberg, even with all the different functionality we have over here. If you happen to be a customer where, well, I don't have a standard sales site, or I don't have something else that I want to do with Connect to SOS. I want to connect a site that we built. You can. We have our own API and a full developer portal where you can actually have a developer write the code, not one of ours. You'll have to use your own developer. We give you access, and they can use any thing that they can do to actually connect to our software via that API. Now, the great thing about that is it's fully tested out because we actually have a Apple app on the App iOS store. I'm not an Apple person, so I might get those terms wrong, but that accesses your SOS account from the phone. And we are working on the Android version. It's just not released yet. But that gives you even more capabilities for use of SOS. So Ed, I think that
Okay.
pretty much gives a great overview of the
Yeah.
software.
I appreciate that, Dale. I think you covered a lot of grounds. If anyone has any further questions or wants another further demo, you can contact me, and I could set something up, and we could take a deep dive into how it might fit in your particular environment. To do that.
So Ed, pleasure working with you today. I know you and Jeff at Siegel Solutions, great team to work with.
Appreciate that. Okay. Thank you all. Before, I want to just take a quick snapshot of the chat so we can save that. Great. Let me save that. Okay.
And actually, I'll tell you what, I'm going to send this to you because I'll be getting a file from Zoom that has all the notes from the chat. So I'll send that to you.
Okay. Great. Thanks very much. Appreciate everyone for attending.
All right. Have a great day, y'all.
Okay.
Looking for my toolbar.